could find me. Driving east on I-90, leaving the past behind me, while this traffic's passing by me. I'm from Western Mass, on back roads we press the gas. Out here I'm the best in class, none can outrhyme me. Sweetheart beside me, son sleeping at home, he's 8 weeks old. I'm in a whole other zone, I used to move blindly, but now I'm finally...
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session. Here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to reach out to us at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. And I'm joined today by a very special guest. He's traveled almost, probably the second farthest, maybe furthest, as any guest has ever come on. Mari, he's giving you a run for your money.
I love that, man. You gotta make it worth it, you know?
I love it. He's all coming all the way from the freaking Berkshires.
It's all about the journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, now he's at the destination, which we're about to go on embark on another journey together just right now.
Continuing the exploration, for sure.
He's a producer. He's an artist, singer, songwriter. Rapper. He does it all. He's a really amazing backstory that I can't wait to dive in with him. This is none other than Jackson Whalan joining the Turntable Teachers.
Thank you, man.
For the very first time. And long awaited, long overdue. You're finally here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Of course. And we talked about that. I feel like this is kind of a perfect time in a lot of ways to have you on.
Yeah.
Just from so we just dropped a song together, which is pretty cool. And some of you that haven't been living on a rock or haven't even been following us are probably like, you don't make music. And you're probably right about that. I don't traditionally make music, but I have this project called Masterclass that I'm slowly rolling out. And Jackson was on the very first single called Try Me with Teeba, Sig Shalome, Aristotle Jones, and Nate Nix. It's out right now, so you guys make sure to check that out.
Love the track, man.
It's a good one. I'm super excited about the whole thing, man. And it just, the way it came together was fantastic. So,
dude, yeah, I feel like it's part of this thing that I'm, very supportive of, which is just like uniting not only Massachusetts, but just like the whole region.
No, seriously.
Of artists out here for sure. So
that was the goal at the end of the day. So
dope.
We're there, we're making it, man. But anyway, so that song is out now. It's we'll link it in the description for you guys to check out along with the rest of Jackson's music. But obviously don't go anywhere because we got plenty left with Jackson. We're just getting started. And as our listeners know, we always start with the objective where we get to know a little bit about you and your background, Jackson. And so I'm very enamored with your background. Like this might be a long-winded part of the podcast because you just feels like you've done so much in it feels like a short time, but it's probably been a while because you've been doing the music thing since you were really a kid. Yeah. And I know that you went to like Waldorf school in elementary school. And so for anyone that doesn't know Waldorf school, I had to kind of look up what that even was too. It's very like activity based, right? So do you think, did that have like any sort of, influence on like you creating music, like from starting there? I guess we'll start there because I got a whole list of stuff, but we'll start there.
Yeah, for sure. It even starts before that because like before I was in Waldorf, I was in public school and it was like I was getting into some trouble and like third grade my parents put me in Waldorf school and like that is what really started my creativity and like it chilled me out because there is a focus there on creativity. Like it's an alternative education like based on certain principles and like you have like crayons and a sketch pad and like you sing and you're required to play an instrument and so it's like very focused on developing that creativity. So I feel like that was actually a turning point for me was like being at Waldorf and just having that part of of me being like supported and fostered for sure. And like then I went on to go back to public school and high school and I like wanted to get back out into the world. I was like I don't want to be sheltered and I wanted to like hang with the rest of the world kind of.
I totally understand that. That's cool. And then I know in middle school and high school, a local artist by the name of Reggie Wingo like kind of taught you the ropes of recording and releasing music, and which even led you to performing. And and I know that through the Railroad Street Youth Project as well, you were mentored by a man by the name of Robbie Bayer. Is that
Robbie Bayer. Yeah.
Sorry, Robbie. My apologies, Robbie Bayer. So I'm curious, like, take me to that time now. So like obviously we just talked about the Waldorf school, like and how that was inspirational to you. But talk to me about being put in those situations and how clearly that was wildly influential for you as well.
Yeah, so I grew up in Great Barrington, Mass, which is like the western edge of Massachusetts. Like New York State is like 10 minutes away. And it's a small town, but there's a lot of second homeowners, and like the demographic is a lot older. There's like not much for kids to do, and so a lot of kids would end up on the street, and like a lot of addiction and drug use. And Railroad Street Youth Project was founded by somebody who was in recovery, who wanted to create a place for people who would otherwise go down that path to have something to do. And Reggie worked for them at the time. He's a MC by the name Dominic Omega. And I used to like literally run away from home and like go see him. He was working at this burrito shop, and I knew that I wanted to rap. Like I was still being rebellious and kind of just overall like an angry kid without an outlet for expressing myself. And I just thought that like rap was the only thing for me to like, it just felt like the only way for me to express myself. So I sought him out on multiple occasions, and then I started hanging out at Railroad Street Youth Project, and I was like the youngest kid there. Like everyone was older than me. I like technically wasn't even supposed to be in there. But
Statute of limitations is okay.
Yeah,
It's long past.
Yeah. We're talking like 10 plus years ago. I mean,
At least,
a
right?
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Reggie like really introduced me to rapping, and most importantly, like encouraged me to do it. And then some of the first people I recorded with was through Reggie. This guy named Pablo Zukowski, and then Janos, the Archetype. So
Oh, there you go.
he was working with Reggie, and so I was like, my first studio time was at Janos's home studio out there way back.
No kidding.
So
Big shout out to Ark. We love Ark.
shout out to Ark, man. It's like foundational for me. So that time in my life was me being like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And I was making CDs and selling them out of my backpack at school, and performing.
I'm of the same era where so I was the opposite, where like I was the guy on Friday nights and weekends after school, like we're on, whatever. I'd be home just like downloading a ridiculous amount of music and just like surfing the web and like making mixtapes for not only myself, but then once like people got a wind of like, I used to buy like stacks of these like blank CDs, and I would just like, I'd take requests and stuff like that from friends and family, like, oh, I like this, and then throw in whatever else you think like might fit that. So I like, weirdly enough, it's funny when you say things like, because I can relate a lot to that, where it's like you wanted to rap at such an early age, and here you are like doing the thing like full fledged, and like similar to me, where I almost feel like I was curating early on, but I didn't think I realized what I was even doing, and now it's like funny that I'm in that position.
What year were you born?
I was 93, so I'm
okay,
a couple years
we're in
younger
the
than you.
same range.
Yeah,
but
totally,
like,
yeah.
Dude, that's the other thing about when we grew up. It's like we were on the cusp of like CDs, and like as an artist you could get signed and like sell CDs, and then like overnight it was like now you can download music on LimeWire, and like just, you could have all the music you want. And so I feel like starting making music at that point, because we're talking about that time period, it's like everything changed at that moment. Like I remember putting my music on MySpace, and like
Napster was a thing that got big for a while.
And I didn't, there wasn't really a way to do music independently until a little bit later, because then you had like TuneCore and different ways to distribute music. But when I was coming up, it was like I was still getting my CDs duplicated and selling them. And
And it was hard to like, I mean, maybe I'm not speaking from experience, but I would just imagine that, like you're saying, it being difficult to be an independent artist at that time because of just the sheer lack of access at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's it's so different now where any kid can buy a freaking Scarlett, a microphone, and probably spend $500 worth of equipment, and you could start recording in your basement, or your bedroom.
Yeah, all that stuff was not even there yet, really.
No, not at all.
Yeah, compared to how it is now, man.
Yeah, but still in a lot of ways that's really important that something like Railroad Street Youth Project was like even a thing.
Yeah.
For you to be able to kind of like dive into that world.
Yeah, it really kept me like off the streets, as street as Great Barrington could possibly be. But yeah, man, just not a lot to do out there, man. So music really saved me for sure.
Yeah. And then I know that, after that, you went to college in New York City and you formed a band and you ended up winning studio time at the Bunker Studio,
Yeah.
where you recorded with Grammy-winning engineer John Davis.
Shout out to John Davis.
That's pretty cool. So take me through that time of, now, you've been doing the music thing for a few years in high school and middle school, and then it leading you to doing it in college and being in New York. Like, what type of transition was that like for you at the time? If you can, remember back to that time, and, how overwhelming was that potentially being in the heart of one of the bigger entertainment, if not the, top 3 entertainment cities in the country, especially coming from where you came from in like a place like Great Barrington?
It was amazing, man. Like, I always knew that I wanted to live in New York City, and my dad took me there growing up, so I had some exposure to it, and man, I just loved it. And like listening to Hot 97 on the way down, I was like, man, I need to live here. Like, it was just the Mecca for me. And so like when I moved down, it was just such a clear decision. Like, it wasn't like I was being sent there, I really sought it out, and I worked hard to get into the new school, and the school, it's like close to NYU, like in that Union Square, Washington Square Park area. And so the city was the campus. So it's like, yeah, I was going to college, but I was also like just going to like the New York, like, city. Like, I was learning so much just being in New York, and formed a band with my friend Sam, who is actually an electronic music producer by the name Essex, and he produces electronic music and dubstep stuff now. But we had this band that was like a crossover between hip hop and like jam band, and like John Frusciante inspired, but also like Pretty Lights and that kind of like electronic scene. And we played like every venue in New York, and we didn't care about the money at all, or like any like the door deal or whatever. We were just like playing every weekend, like just cutting our teeth, and we ended up starting playing music festivals from that, and yeah, recorded with John Davis at the Bunker, and worked with we brought in a drummer named Brandon B. Rhythms, and this girl Carmen from Spain, and so we had like a lot of stuff going on in that band, man. We still have that stuff out on Bandcamp, I think.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's like we were just...
What was the name of the band again?
Technicolor Lenses.
Technicolor Lenses.
Yeah, man. It was a wild time, dude. We were just going for it and partying, and yeah. It was
young.
Yeah, it was just that early stage where like, everything goes kind of,
Sure. But what I appreciate is, your ability to just kind of stick with it, right? Like, I know we'll get into some more of like, how you became a solo artist and all that sort of stuff in a minute, but I think I want to take a moment now and just to say like a testament for you being, in your early mid 30s and still doing the music thing, right?
Yeah,
Even
man.
though at the beginning, it might have seemed like you said, it was, you're just kind of going with the wind, so to speak, and just kind of taking whatever opportunity is there. But I think it's important that you were able to just keep your foot on the gas and keep your foot on the pedal and just stick with it, because, it's so many people, I feel like, get to that position. And then after that, maybe if things don't quite materialize right away, they give up, or they, they get a little nervous and they seek a different outlet. So not to say that things haven't worked out for you, because they have, but like, I just feel like it's just a testament to, that sort of idea of, if you're passionate about something,
persevering, dude. Yeah, like there's so many challenges in this music game. Like, it's crazy.
God, yeah.
And back then I didn't even really have any sense of what like revenue streams for music were, and I was just like going, and like there's a joy in that, but I also had other jobs at that time. I was like working in a restaurant in New York that my cousin was the chef at, and there was always other stuff going on at that time that was kind of allowing me to continue doing music, but it wasn't, it wasn't like the money maker at that time, and it didn't need to be. It was just like an exploration. So
yeah, and there is something beautiful, like you said, about those early stages where like you're just kind of in it, and I feel like even I feel like bigger artists too, they speak very fondly about the days past of when it was a little more simple.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I'm sure, there's no fun part about being broke and trying to like make your
I was
dream.
like sleeping on a floor. For a time, like in a spot where we had like a little music setup. We were cooking music. Yeah, man, it's crazy. We moved into an apartment. The studio was flooding. You know what I mean? Like there's like tons of stuff that happened during that time that was just crazy, and eventually ended up like leaving the city and started touring more around that time. But yeah, man, it's I loved it though, and but yeah, it just felt like it was a time where we were just like going all out, and yeah, I just in a way, like I wish I was more focused back then or had more of like a direction. But I was also like, when I was at the new school, I was studying philosophy and environmentalism, and I went to live in India for 3 months and did a study abroad there. So a lot. I was still exploring like things outside of music that meant a lot to me as well.
Which is important when you're young. So
Yeah.
I guess that's just a good test, like a good thing for anybody to hear, that, whatever stage you're in, especially if it's the early stages, like enjoy them. I think that's kind of the thought, right? Is like enjoy them, obviously make those moves to get to that next phase of whatever, you're pursuing, but at the same time, like you got to enjoy every moment. Like we said at the beginning, we were half joking, but it's the truth. Like really enjoying the journey is important, enjoying the 3.5 hour drive to come be on Turntable Teachers.
I was listening to Turntable Teachers on the way to doing this.
The Mari episode. Shout out
the
to Mari
episode was awesome.
Because he was trying to get some inspiration from having to drive for 3+ hours. So we appreciate both of you for being here and, having come on. And this is great. So I want to transition now to the main lesson where we talk a little bit more about what you got going on now.
Cool.
And one of the things that just happened recently so I've been following the HunnaG Take a Seat Rap on the Beat series for a while, and it was dope to see you on it recently. I want to talk a little bit about this. So, and you guys actually just dropped the song called Rich Life you jumped on. So describe how that came to be, and I have a couple questions on it, and whether or not whether you can answer them or not, I don't know. But I'm just very enamored with like the uniqueness of that platform, and how the way in which his work process goes, like how it maybe changes the outcome of the music, right? Like, it seems as though, like, is that something that is like set up prior? Are you just kind of like finding where he stays and where he sits and like you jump on it? Like, how does that whole thing work?
I don't know how much I should share.
Yeah, why don't you share as much as you can?
I will say that it's one take straight through.
That's sick.
So like it's a live recording. There's no like punching in. But I mean, if you mess up partway through, you can start over and do the whole thing again. But I was out there looking for him a few times. I didn't even see him. And then but I noticed that my friends were getting on like early, like before it blew up. Like my friend Intellect was on there.
I was about to say, shout out to him. We've gone back and forth in DMs a little
Intellect. Bit. And then my friend Nori was on there.
Okay.
So I was like, oh man, I have mutual friends with this dude, and he knows my friend Honeycomb. And so I reached out online, and by the time I reached out, it had already had its moment, and now it's like a big thing, right? So it was a little more premeditated than just like, oh, here he is. You know what I mean? It was like we arranged for it, and I wanted to make sure that I could also release the track because I like loved what I did over that beat too, but I wanted to make sure that I was able to put the track on streaming and stuff. So
really cool. So tell me. So then I'll ask a different question, or I'll kind of go back to another piece of that question that maybe you can't answer. So from your perspective, like, what do you think it is about the aura of something that feels so? I don't want to call it simple because I feel like that's almost discrediting what it is. But
it's a formula.
Yeah. Like describe to me like I don't say the process, but like the experience and how the experience that he's able to cultivate in that moment. And with it being such a public space too, in a lot of ways, like,
that's a huge part of it.
Like, how does it all kind of tie in to make the experience so unique? And then, like, what does it potentially also do to the music? Like, how does it maybe influence the music in some way, shape, or form?
Well, you're performing in public, which isn't for everybody. Like, some people don't like to perform in public. I think that the performing in public aspect is what creates the virality of that show, because like there's just people walking around in the background, and like that you're in Washington Square, and so it's like there's an element of surprise involved where like you're in public, and then also just the sign like take a seat, rap on the beat. It's like that's the hook. It's like everybody nowadays is like, what's my hook for a video? It's like that the hook is there every time, and it's consistent, and so
repeatable.
And then yeah, like the person is walking up and just sitting down and rapping. So it's like, I don't know, it's just such a formula, man. He really found something awesome, and I think that in those early times when it was first starting, it was like he was testing out proof of concept kind of, and then once he knew it was like viral, he just kept doing it. And if you look on his Instagram, it's like that's every single video is this one thing.
Yeah.
So props to him. And there's a guy, Johnny, that he had worked with who kind of showed him the ropes on how to do that kind of video stuff.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty fascinating.
Yeah, the song "Rich Life" that you did with him is out now. But I highly encourage people to check out the visual because it was really it was just cool to watch. And I've never talked to anybody or I should say anybody on the show that's been on that before. So that's really cool. I also wanted to mention "This Hits Different," which has been I feel like you're a big song the last year.
Yeah,
it's really done a lot of great things for you, and I just want to I'm curious about the success of the song and how easily received it's been, but also sort of asking even beforehand, did you think that this song was going to do what it did? I'm curious. I'm always fascinated to talk to artists about if they have a song that either goes viral or gets good numbers or whatever, or gets recognition in some way, shape, or form. If they knew when it's, I feel like it's sometimes mixed. I feel like some people are like, oh, I knew that was going to be a hit. We talked, we looked at each other in the studio. We're like, oh,
or
that
the
hits
songs
different.
that you least expect are the ones that go. Yeah.
Right. And so I've had that example too of people being like, nah, I was almost going to scrap this song. And you know what I mean? So where did this hits different sit on that scale, and how do you and then talk to me a little bit about the sort of aftermath of it,
So with This Hits Different, the tempo alone was such a switch up for me. It's 124 BPM, which is automatically just more danceable. And if you've listened to my other music, you know that I love slower boom bap, chill stuff, but I was challenging myself to make a dance track. And a couple of people who I was talking to who do licensing for film and TV, they were sending me examples of tracks that were getting licensed a lot. And so I listened to some of that and used it as inspiration. And also this artist Connor Price, Connor
I
Price.
do know Connor Price.
So
he's another one who's done some repeatable stuff on social media that's very recognizable, where I feel like a lot of people are almost, I don't know if he originated with him or if he copied it from somewhere else, but him being the engineer or the producer in the seat, but also being the artist, and playing the little acting. act.
So with This Hits Different, I just was leaning into this more dance music type vibe, and also super braggadocious or whatever, but also just thinking about what kind of song I could make that could be in a commercial. And sure enough, it's in an Xfinity commercial now. So it's I was just out of my comfort zone making a dance track, and also sometimes I DJ dance parties and stuff, and I'm learning what makes people dance, and it's oftentimes it's music that's just at a higher tempo, and I just feel when you get to a certain tempo, it's more guaranteed that people are gonna nod their head, get up and move. So This Hits Different was me kind of testing that, and it worked out, man. Yeah.
Well, props to you for taking a different approach and realizing even if this isn't necessarily a type of music or style that I normally will make.
Yeah.
Why not give it a shot, especially if it's going to be more marketable? So it feels like that was maybe part of the intention, right?
Yeah.
Was to see if it could be more marketable.
But then also when you're switching up your style, you're running the risk of losing some people.
That's fair.
Which I think is okay if you're just starting out or you don't have a huge following. You might make something that some of your fans don't like as much, but you might also reach a whole other audience that you never thought you would reach. So
100%.
So there's that to think about too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we play a clip of it for the people
Let's
get a
man.
little bit?
Yeah.
All right, so this is Jackson Whalan's newish song. It's been out for a while, but this hits different. Maybe
My
you have
summer hit.
Yeah, sure. It's a summer. Maybe you've heard it on that Xfinity commercial, but either way, you're about to take a quick peek at it now, and we will be right back.
I'm not like anyone, always on the run getting some, but I tell you what I really want, set myself apart from everyone, cause I'm on my own vibe, I got my own drive, that's why I'm so fly, make them go oh my, don't even know why most people don't try, I'm just out here having fun and that's why I won. 1 minute, 1 sec, while I get up on the decks and I keep it so correct, 2, I do it all for you, watching them stop and drop when we're coming through. This hit's different, I am consistent, don't blink cause you really might miss it. You talk it, I live it, wait a minute, wait. This is different, this one hits different, this is different, this one hits 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 different,
And that was This Hits Different, Jackson Whalan's not brand new, but newish song that's out now. It is linked in the description along with Try Me. We'll also link Rich Life as well with HunnaG. And of course, once again, Try Me, which is the single that Jackson and I are on with Teeba, Sig Shalome, Aristotle Jones, Nate Nix off of Masterclass. That is out now as well. Maybe I even threw a clip of it in the beginning of this episode too. I'm sure I did. So now I'm thinking about it. I might as well do that. Now, because you've listened to Turntable Teachers before, so thank you for doing your research. And we inevitably have to do a pop quiz.
Yeah.
So pop quiz, for anyone that's a fan of Jackson and just being introduced to us for the first time, pop quiz is a segment where we ask our guests rapid fire questions. Some of these questions have to do with music. Some have to have absolutely nothing to do with music whatsoever. It's just stuff I found out about you.
Cool.
But it's all about you, so you really can't fail. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. So my first question to you is, what is the aura of making beats in beautiful places?
I love exploring and hiking and being out in nature and also like repping where I'm from. And it could also be in New York City, but just anywhere with I love beautiful backdrops. And I love making beats. So it's like just a way for me to take two things I love and put them into one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it. Awesome. What was the most profound moment or wildest story you had during your time traveling in India?
Oh my God, dude. Okay, so I had spent 3 months in India, and then I at the end of it, I traveled on a train for 48 hours from the south to the north to a city called Varanasi, which is where the Ganges River runs through. It's like a very holy city. Okay. And you get there and they're cremating the dead. There's all these cremation funerals happening, and it smells, dude. It's wild. So I got there. I knew which guest house I wanted to stay at, and the guy who was driving the rickshaw taxi wouldn't take me there because he was getting a commission to take me to another guest house. So I got out and started walking, and this little boy shows up, and he takes me to the guest house that I wanted to go to. Penthouse suite for $10 US a night.
Stop it.
Waking up and monkeys are at my window, and I forget exactly what happened, but oh yeah. So I met this kid who was showing me around the city, and he was basically taking me to places where I would just buy stuff. And so by the end of the day, I didn't have any cash, and he wanted to be tipped out for all of the work he did showing me around. And so I gave him this necklace, and a few days go by. I'm still in Varanasi, just exploring the city, hanging out, relaxing. And I walk into this little gift shop, and there's this big genie looking dude who was chain smoking cigs, and he was trying to rope me into his mind reading that he was doing, and it was really deep, dude. There was a guy there sitting there, and I could tell that that dude was under this guy's spell, literally. And I look behind, and there's my necklace, And I was like, it just really tripped me out, dude. Like, so the kid who I helped, like, had
Obviously hawked
sold
it,
the
yeah.
necklace, and then, like, I saw it and, like, was going to try to get it back, but then I realized that this dude was on some, like, mind game, like, manipulation stuff, so I just, like, bowed out and, like, let him keep the necklace, dude.
That's crazy.
Oh my God. But I mean, there were so many other moments, man. I did a silent meditation retreat out there. That was really profound.
How long was that? Because I've always been fascinated by that type of
I didn't do the
stuff.
Vipassana. That's like 9
okay.
days. This was like 3 days, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just didn't talk for 3 days straight.
Yeah. It was wild, man.
What is that like? Especially as somebody who raps and talks for.
I remember I was writing a lot. Like it brought a lot of writing out of me.
Fair enough.
And yeah, just a lot of self-reflection and also just difficult moments. Cause like, with meditation, like some people can sit there cross-legged, dude, but I'm not really like comfortable when I sit cross-legged. So that was kind of tough. And like, I felt this shame around asking for a chair. Cause I was like, I'm supposed to be sitting like, you know, how you think you're supposed to meditate. And like, I just remember because I was, you know, in this silent meditation, it was like, I had this whole, like, it took me so much to just ask for a chair to be comfortable. And then when I did, it was fine, you know? But
Right,
it's like,
right.
But yeah, it's beautiful out there, man.
I love yoga. That's like, I do yoga a couple times a week. And
Nice.
yeah, so it's like a big thing for me in terms of like a mindfulness thing, but also with the body as well. But to your point, the cross leg thing's always a difficult one for me too. Believe it or
It's
not,
hard.
like it's just the way my legs
It's like
are.
some
like
people aren't built that way.
I'm just not. I'm not. We're built different out here.
Yeah.
Now I've always wanted to go out to India, so that's a place
I
I'd like
recommend it, man.
a place I'd like to go. Just from like, again, because I like a lot of the more spiritual shit too, and I feel like that's definitely an angle that, you know, that they're really just, it's just a part of that culture.
Yeah, it's much more public, you know? Like spirituality is like you see it, whereas like when you're here and when I came back, it's like a reverse culture shock. You don't see it. Like people are private about their spirituality. Or like you go into this building and then you worship, you know, whereas like people are like
It's just
worshiping out and about.
That's
you know?
cool.
It's
Yeah,
cool to see, man.
I appreciate that a lot. I think that's cool no matter what you believe in. I think that's really dope. All right. I got to ask this. So for context, I told you that I was a former teacher. I taught for almost 10 years and I taught English, which is, again, makes sense to why I love the music end of things and the writing and all that sort of stuff. But I taught a book called Night by Elie Wiesel for literal years, probably 8 years. And I know that you performed at the United Nations headquarters in New York City when you were 17 in front of Jane Goodall, Elie Wiesel, and Michael Douglas. So it's just a simple question. What
Yeah.
the hell was that like?
Yeah, man, it was like my biggest performance for, you know, like not to date, but for that time, it was like my first big performance in front of like a few hundred people. And it was through Railroad Street Youth Project because we were like linked up with the UN and we would go down there. And there's a video of it on YouTube. Did you see it?
I haven't seen it. No, I should have looked it up.
Humble beginnings, you know. Like I look back at it like wow. But yeah, they were behind me. So they're the messengers of peace for this youth summit that was happening for like world peace every year. So Elie Wiesel, Jane Goodall, Michael Douglas, like they were just basically sitting behind me. And I don't know what they thought about it, but it was cool, man. I had the room like making noise and stuff, and it was like one of those affirming moments for me that like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And but yeah, man, I'm just like, it's amazing that people like that will show up for those kinds of events, you know. It's so important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was just, wildly influential as a voice of obviously the Holocaust and everything Wiesel specifically went through as a kid, and then obviously when he was you know, obviously after World War II and all of that. I mean, I can't imagine, but
I remember reading that book when I was a kid. So.
Fantastic book. If anyone hasn't read it, which I'm sure a lot of people, if you went to high school, you're in high school now, you probably have read it. So it's definitely I feel like a must read for that age, especially to kind of just understand empathy for other people's experiences, right? Especially in the day and age we live in now.
We need that. Yeah,
we need a lot more of that. I completely agree. Okay. Describe how you got KRS-One on your From the Woods remix, and then you ended up producing a beat for him afterwards too. So how did
Yeah.
that whole, I don't say relationship, but maybe just working relationship, how did that all come to be?
So the way that I got connected with KRS-One was from my friend in California. His name's Dove, and he has this entity called Hip Hop Medicine, and he used to produce shows, and he brought KRS-One out for one of those shows. And so when I met Dove, I kind of got introduced to that world, and he had Grandmaster Kaz come out, and Brother Jay from X Clan would come over all the time, and I remember I'd play Brother Jay's beats here and there, and Killer Priest came out,
Okay.
and so he was producing shows in Northern California, which is where I was staying for a period of time in between shows, around like 2016 to 18. And Dove was friends with this guy Zinaru, who used to be on tour with KRS, like helping out on tour, and so I was able to, through them, I reached out to Simone, KRS's wife, and I had this track that was like this bluegrass hip hop track, and there was like this organ in it that reminded me of like old school hip hop, and I like couldn't help but I just kept hearing KRS on this track, and then I remembered that I had this like mutual connection with those people, so I emailed the track to Simone, didn't hear back, released the song From the Woods on my album From the Woods, and just like forgot about it, and then sure enough got the email like months later, and they were ready to work, and like I was like, I still want him on the same track, so I sent that to him, and that's how it happened. It was like mid-COVID, so we did it all remotely, and then yeah, I was on his every Sunday. He does the Temple of Hip Hop live stream, and there was one day when he was like, I need beats, and dropped his email there, and sent him more beats, and one of them ended up on his album, his most recent album, which is like a year or so old. It's called I Am MCUR12. And then I finally met him earlier this year at Sony Hall in New York City, and we like
So cool.
got to connect for a minute.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. What a
Cool,
story.
man.
That's got to be a shining moment in your career.
And it was
for
cool
sure.
because like it was like that song was so important for me to have him on it, because it was like literally the story of how hip hop did have this effect of reaching way beyond the city. And when I was coming up, like hearing him where I'm at in my small town, and like I wanted to just pay homage to that back and forth between the urban and the rural, and like how hip hop really has an effect even in like rural towns and areas.
Sure.
And there's like hip hop heads everywhere, so I think he understood the assignment for sure.
He definitely did. I love it. So you're recently, within the last year or so, or maybe a little bit longer now, a new father.
Yeah, man. I'm a dad.
You have a son. It's really,
Yeah.
really incredible. So what's one thing that you've learned about yourself through becoming a father, and then one piece of advice you might have for like upcoming fathers or people that are aspiring fathers?
Yeah, so in terms of being a father, like, what I've learned about myself is like time is just so valuable, and I've learned how to do time management just out of necessity, because like pre-dad I was just like working around the clock.
Yeah.
And my wife is also self-employed, so she's a photographer.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have any boundaries for work, and I have a studio outside of my house, so it's like I have a few hours a day to go work, and then it's like I need to be with my son, you know what I mean? Like that's more important to me than anything. So, and then advice for other, parents or parents to be, is that it's just like time management, like make sure that you spend time with your kids, and especially in the context of music, like those decisions that used to, you know, cook you, like going on the road, like just think a little bit more before you do that kind of stuff, because as a parent, I have made the mistake of saying yes to certain things that compromise my ability to be a parent, or were like, whether it's like losing money or traveling too far or just ending up in situations where you're not, you know, able to be the best parent. So it's like, you know, just be more diligent about decision making. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Are you a parent?
I am not. I am not. I am recently engaged.
Nice.
Last
dude.
couple months. Yes, we're getting
Congrats,
married.
man.
Thank you. Yeah, getting married in August,
Nice.
which is very exciting. I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah.
She's incredible. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, I will be at some point. I know that because she wants to be. And it's funny. Like, I went back and forth with it for a really long time because, like yourself, like I understand the industry that we are in and what it demands of, like, I look at my day-to-day now, especially like I've not being a teacher anymore, and I realize the demand of what it entails. And so for me, I think that there was always, you know, even when I was younger, and it just goes, I won't get into the details, but like the way I grew up, I think definitely influenced me not wanting to have kids for a long time. But then I kind of realized that I was basing a thing that I thought I wanted or didn't want, I guess you'd say, off of an entirely different circumstance that didn't necessarily reflect how I would perform in that role, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think for me, it was like more of a fear thing than it was like a I don't want kids thing.
That's how I felt about marriage, because like my parents divorced, and so like
Me too.
I was like, if I'm gonna get married, like I want to prove to the
It's
world that
gotta
like, it's
be
gonna
right.
be right, you know. And I do feel that way, which is great. And it's like, you know, because I was 9 when my parents split up, so
I was
it
10.
very So you know, it's like it's a tender age, and like I just wanted to be sure that I was with the right person, and
Agreed.
I am. So
Well, it's funny because for me the running joke with a lot of my friends and some of my friend groups was that I was going to quote unquote George Clooney it, that I wasn't going to get married until I was in my 40s or 50s, just because. And I have a cousin that did the same thing, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, I think that I like you, I had a fear of it, and like my parents, you know, I don't want to air out all the laundry, but you know, I've alluded to it on some other episodes where my parents had a really, really bad divorce. I'll just put it out there. It was not a great divorce. And, you know, it was difficult. It was difficult for sure. And then I was the oldest of 3. So a lot fall just, I think, naturally, through nobody's fault of their own necessarily, just a lot falls on the oldest at that point. And not to say that my brothers also didn't have difficulty with it as well, because they clearly did. But, you know, I think at that standpoint, it was definitely a bit just more responsibility, I think, landed on me that earlier than normal. And I think it got to the point where it's like, you know, I got almost used to being more of an adult earlier than I probably would have liked to have been. And I think that sort of what pushed me away. Like, well, I've been kind of doing this adult thing since I was like 13 or 14. Like, why do I want to like rush to be this adult? You know what I mean?
For sure.
But it kind of goes to show, like, you meet the right person and things just
That's what it
change.
is for me. And yeah, becoming a dad, like I'm, you know, I look at other artists too, and like some of my favorite rappers like have kids, you know, and they're crushing it.
Yeah.
And it's like
There's a way to
lot
do
of them
it.
you don't even know they have kids.
I know.
And like that's for me, like I'm not really trying to be like the dad rapper, like whether or not I come across as that or rep that. It's like that's not what's important to me. It's like more important to me that I'm actually just being a good dad.
For sure. No, 100%. No, I completely agree. No, it's a beautiful thing though when you find a situation that you feel like you can foster that. And I genuinely am looking forward to a lot of that too. And maybe it's me getting older too, but I think there's a piece of me that's like, all right, I'm kind of glad that I wasn't so like, you know, stick my foot in the ground like I'm not doing this.
That's cool,
you know
man.
what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I was
at least open to
I've
that.
been there. You know? Yeah.
Sounds like we can relate on a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, all right. I do have 3 true or false questions for you. So hopefully, these will be, I would say relatively quick, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
So some people love white, like my fiance is one of them, love white noise and fans when they sleep. So is it true or false that you are the opposite? You don't like repetitive noise when you sleep?
That's true. I need it quiet.
Just dead quiet.
Yeah, like the other night there was like a little critter up in the wall, and I was like up all night. And then like, yeah, I like it just complete silence. Yeah.
Cool. True or false? You used to have a tattoo on the back of your neck that said "now."
I do.
You still have it now?
Yeah, I still have it. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's there.
It's there. Yeah, well, I believe you. And the last one's true or false? Your grandfather spent most of his life as a lawyer trying to get someone off death row.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Wow, man. I don't know where you got all this, dude. I'm amazed. You're like, who's that guy?
Nardwar?
You're like Nardwar.
I get that a lot. I like to say that I am more on the Sean Evans side of things because I'm such a fan of him.
Yeah,
that's like my
mix.
dream. I would love to go on Hot Ones. That's like
Dude,
my dream.
I don't know how you got that info.
Yeah, I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
I can't reveal sources on air. Sorry. My last question to you.
He did his homework.
I did my homework. I like to do my homework on this show, people. My last question to you is: you've been known to be quite the ice cream lover. So, what is your Mount Rushmore of favorite ice creams? If you could, your top 4 ice cream flavors of all time.
Well, Cherry Garcia is
great flavor.
One.
We love that one.
Mint chocolate chip. There's a local ice cream from my hometown called Highland Farm. They have a great cookies and cream.
Okay, love that.
And then, yeah, I don't even know if I have 5. I like the.
You got 4. Mount Rushmore's 4.
Okay. Yeah.
So you get one more.
So, fish food. Yeah, I'm like a Ben and Jerry's.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, really? Oh,
cool. Listen. All right. I don't know if in the comments, I'll probably clip this up. In the comments, please let me know if we are tripping because I love fish food. I think that's one of the best Ben and Jerry's flavors ever. But every time I mention it to friends, family, whoever, they're like, no, like that sucks. Like people don't like fish food.
Come on.
I don't understand. I'm like the only person. You're like the only other person I met that's even like liked. Like, what is there not to like about fish food?
Dude, it's amazing that we're talking about this right now because I like literally gave up ice cream like 2 weeks ago.
No, you didn't. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'm like, this is good for me, man.
Like gave it up
this
just because it's like,
this is healing.
This is healing.
Yeah. To talk about it.
Yeah. You're off past your addiction. What we do now, we bought one of those Ninja Creamies. Have you seen these things?
No.
Dude, so they're like these ice cream machines, and you can make your own ice cream, and you can make them more healthy. Obviously, that's like kind of the point.
Yeah.
So like, what I do is I'll throw like like that Fairlife milk, or I'll even throw like a protein shake in there.
Yeah.
Or if I use the milk, I'll throw like
cool.
some protein powder in there, and then the trick is like a little bit of sugar-free Jello pudding mix. So
cool.
Let's say I'm making chocolate, I'll do like chocolate Fairlife, chocolate protein, a little bit of like the chocolate, pudding mix or whatever, sugar-free
like
pudding
business,
meats.
Man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's quite a process. And then you have
do
to
a lot
like,
with that.
Yeah, and then you gotta like
Shark
obviously
Tank. You can get on Shark Tank with that.
Well, I mean, the thing's already out there, but still,
Yeah.
but it's like it's so cool because then like you freeze it overnight and then you just like pop it in there, and it tastes like, I'm not kidding, it tastes like a freaking soft serve. Like,
oh, that sounds so good.
It's really good, and it's healthy. Like it's not like bad for you.
Yeah,
like,
you could do it with like non-dairy stuff.
Absolutely,
too, right?
You could do it non-dairy. You could do almond milk. You could do, like a sorbet the other day. I put like fresh mango and like frozen blueberry and just water.
Nice.
With a little bit of lemon in it, squirted in it. It's just like ends up becoming a
called?
sorbet. The Ninja Creamy.
Man, they need to sponsor this podcast, man.
I know. I'm like, I'm already, I'm glowing about the Ninja Creamy. So if Ninja Creamy, if you want to end up sponsoring the show, that's amazing. But I already love the product, so I will definitely sponsor.
Yeah, you're already repping it.
I'll already rep it.
Okay,
but anyway,
Ninja Creamy. I'm gonna check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe you won't have to give up ice cream forever.
Okay. There's hope.
Because Ben and Jerry's pint. And then like again, it's guilt-free pint of ice cream.
Yeah.
It's kind of has how I feel.
True.
It's not quite Ben and Jerry's, obviously, but it's like that good fix that you don't need, the 1,300 calories and the 900.
I'm gonna run this by my wife.
run it by your wife and see if it is a possibility. Yeah. But anyway, that was Pop Quiz with Jackson.
That's cool. We can give my son ice cream, like good healthy ice cream.
Yeah, man. Dude. Yeah, it's
man. That was
pretty
the craziest quiz ever, dude. I don't know how you got all that info.
Hey, I do my best, bro. I do my
cool.
best. I want to talk about this. I want to switch back to the main lesson now. I want to talk about this upcoming project that you just sent me this morning that I got through about half of it. I'll be honest. The first couple songs were really good though. Like
Thank
that
you, man.
first track, the first opening track, the name of it's now escaping me, but it was
called Hope.
Yes. That beat switch was wild. I thought it was a different song.
The tempo change.
Yeah, the tempo change. It was a totally different song.
Dude.
I felt like I was like, holy shit. So you have this upcoming project. Do you have a name for it yet?
It's called Vocal Points.
Vocal
That's
Points.
The album
Okay.
name. We're still like maybe gonna change a couple song titles, but we just sent the album out for mastering.
It's fantastic.
And, it's produced with my buddy Guess. His name's Greg. He's my good friend. And he's a playback engineer, so he's out on the road doing playback for Logic and Kid Laroi.
Oh, no way.
Different artists, and we linked up through this friend Laura Escudé, who's also a playback engineer and musician, and she's done playback for like Kanye and countless artists.
That's
and
crazy.
She's the one who's off to the side running tracks and making sure that the show goes smoothly.
Sure.
Because like most bands these days are running backing tracks, and she does like the Grammys and different. So she introduced me to Greg, and so I went and met Greg at a Logic show, and we just started cooking. And what's different about this album is that I'm just rapping and he's just producing. And he actually has a couple vocal moments on the album, but it's for the album I'm just rapping. He produced the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm stoked, man.
That's really cool. Now, from what I heard of it, it's really good. So I'm curious, like, what can fans expect from you with this body of work? And is there like a loose, time when it might be out that people kind of anticipate?
Yeah, like definitely we're going to start rolling out tracks from the album in the next couple months. So hopefully before the end of 2024, and then into 2025. And yeah, it's like a lot more vulnerable than my other work, and I'm a lot more melodic with my vocals on this one. And there's one song in particular where I'm really like pushing my storytelling a lot more. And there's a crazy story on one of these tracks, and yeah, just stylistically pushing the boundaries and just exploring. And in general, man, I'm just going through a huge metamorphosis in my sound, but also just visual identity, and I'm excited to like reveal that more through the video and photos and stuff that we're gonna be doing.
This is awesome. Can't wait to see it. No, I mean the video and photo game has been great. Like you got good traction on TikTok, Instagram, like your socials look good, like numbers look good, like, and that's a testament to like I think all of like the work you're putting in, you know what I mean? Man. Like everything looks super clean and crisp, and just I'm a fan.
I've been doing stuff on my own, but I also work with other people, like other video and photo people. And I collab a lot with my wife.
I was about to say, it probably helps to have.
And we're about to have a studio together, so I'm excited about
heck
that.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Cool,
that's going to be a cool venture.
Yeah, she'll have like a photo set up, and I'll have my music stuff, and we'll have a little podcast thing off on the corner.
Yeah, dude, perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool, man.
Yeah, just like what we have here.
Yeah,
perfect.
I found a cool space, dude. I'll show you.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to see it. Another question I have for you is performing live, because I know you've performed like all over the country in a lot of ways. And what have been some of the more memorable moments you've had as a performer, or maybe certain cities that surprised you that were really cool, or had a particularly great crowd that night? Or so just talk to me about some of your stories that you might have about touring, and because that's a pretty unique, I think, aspect to being an independent artist. Is some independent artists, I feel like, get so it's hard to get it all together. You know what I mean? Like I feel like some independent artists do really well from just creating great music out of their space, their bedroom, whatever it is, and the numbers might look good, but they don't really tour a lot. Some maybe do better by like actually touring, but maybe the streams aren't there. But it seems like you've kind of been able to sort of look at this bigger picture as like a as a whole sort of pie, and sort of figuring out how much of the pieces you can do. And I know relatively it's probably harder now having your son, but I know earlier years you've totally performed, and you still perform a lot in New York, I feel like, right?
Yeah,
like
I love performing, man. Some of the highlights for me have been like touring with this band Moon Hooch.
Yes.
Denver was like one of my favorite shows, sold out, Bluebird Theater, like that's just crazy. Packed, and that was awesome. That was pre-COVID. And Brooklyn opening for them. Brooklyn Made was like an awesome venue, also sold out, like 500 cap.
Wow.
And I opened for Jizza a couple years ago at Hawks and Reed in Greenfield. And the dude who runs that venue, Ben, has always thrown me on like opening slots. So I opened for Talib Kweli there.
No way.
Like a lot of the shows I played have been like opening for amazing artists. Like I really love that. And then lately I've just been trying to perform like at least once a month. It's a different scene right now, man. It's like really different than before COVID. Like I feel like people are definitely more selective about who they're going to see these days, and so it can be a lot tougher for independent artists who are trying to like play smaller venues, and like people might like save their show night for like a bigger artist. So I think my strategy is to try and just keep opening for people right now. And like, but yeah, New York City, Producer Mondays, man. It's like a weekly event hosted by Ray Angry, who plays keys in the Roots. And it's totally improvised session with some of the most amazing musicians coming through there. And
That's so
I usually
cool.
hop up on the mic and freestyle there. And sometimes I'll bring my MPC there. And it's at this club called New Blue. It's packed every time. And that's been like a huge community building show that I go to and perform at. Yeah.
Well, that's the key too. I think what you're saying, right? Like, and with something that I've looked at as, you know, kind of starting to promote some shows here and there too, where it's like, if you can get in at a place that already kind of has a built-in crowd, I feel like that's always a much easier angle to potentially, you know, versus trying to sell a shit ton of tickets, which is possible. I'm not suggesting it's not, but it's also like, it just makes for a much easier thing when like, it's one of those types of venues where like Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, like there's always, somebody playing there. So therefore the people the locals always want to go no matter like kind of who's playing type deal.
I've learned the hard way that it's like best to do that or like work with promoters or try and open for somebody.
Right.
At least at this stage of the game, like there will be a time when it's headline.
When it makes sense.
You can sell tickets like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Denver is another spot that I would love to see a show, like particularly Red Rocks, like totally where I want it. Like
also,
no matter
who. Portland, Oregon was awesome.
No, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I played all over the country, man. I want to keep going. I want to keep playing. I love performing, and definitely want to play more music festivals and book more shows, man. Yeah.
Yeah, festivals would be another key too. I feel like as well to it for sure. Yeah, no, festivals are a great way. I feel like to find new talent, new artists. I feel like every time I go to a festival, and even if it's an artist or a band I don't know, I always feel like I walk away from there being like, oh shit,
yeah,
like this is dope. Like I remember even years ago, it was a long time ago. Now it's pre-COVID, probably 6 or 7, maybe even longer, maybe almost 8 years ago now. Maybe not that long, but Manchester Orchestra. I had never heard of them before, and I saw them perform they're like a rockish band.
Cool.
And I heard them at Boston Calling one year, and I know who they were.
Nice.
They were not opening, but they were a little earlier in the day, and I think that they were a little bit before an artist that I was wanted to see on that same stage. I was like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean? So I feel like those are the moments. I just was at Levitate last summer and came onto a couple different really cool new artists. Elevators, who are local. They're really dope.
Yeah, man.
They're sweet. So anyway, I just feel like the festivals are a great way to like find artists as well,
it's a great
and bands.
place for discovery.
Great place to discovery.
Music, yeah.
Totally. My last question in the main lesson is around sync, because I know that's a big thing for you. And so I'm curious, without getting maybe too much in the weeds about it, just real quick, like what would be one piece of advice you would give an independent artist who's trying to tap into the sync game, but is having a difficult time or doesn't really know where to begin? Because I know that's like, again, a big way for you to not only make a living, but also like to continue doing what you're doing and being a full-time independent artist is the sync game. So what would be like maybe something that's worked for you, or one experience that you would have that you'd be willing to share, or one piece of advice that maybe other artists could potentially try and utilize on their sync journey?
Yeah. The biggest thing with sync is just like developing relationships with people, just like any other field. And there's also some more practical things you can do, like host your music on disco.ac, which is like where people who are in the sync world like listen to music. So if you send it to them that way, as opposed to like a SoundCloud link or a Dropbox link, if you send it to them with disco, you're like upping your credibility because that's how they're used to receiving music. And you can also add metadata there. But when I first got into sync, I literally just like Googled music licensing companies and I looked on the website and saw if they accepted submissions or not, and I just submitted to as many as possible, and then out of that I got a few deals. And another thing that I would suggest is try to have non-exclusive deals so that you can like still work your music with other companies if needed,
Like that same song potentially. Yeah.
And then also don't get scared of exclusive deals, because you could give one company 5 songs exclusive and then you could give another 5 songs to another company, so it's like only exclusive with
That one
the songs that you deliver to them, you know. So yeah, there's different things, man. Like also just like researching and look, like watch a commercial and see how the music hits. And there's like things that you call edit points. So like there'll be a moment where the music like hits, like you've seen it in a commercial like a bunch of times. You know what that's like. It's like create those moments for, you're basically creating music for video editors, right? Because like your music is being used for visual, and there's somebody editing and they're gonna want to like have different cuts and stuff like that. So just thinking in terms of that. I took a great course about sync licensing from Ari's Take Academy. He's like a music business education platform.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
And that was cool because it connects you to a community of people who also signed up for the course, and there's like a bunch of coursework on just like best practices. But yeah, man, I'm open. Like if people want to hit me up, they can ask questions. Like somebody just hit me up today asking, and I'm trying to like give advice to people.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked that.
But like the perfect thing, man, is when you make a song for you and it gets synced, because like that's the best of both worlds right there. Like keep writing music that you love, and like maybe keep the licensing in the back of your mind. But like if you're an artist and you want to be an artist, like you could have sync licensing work for you, and not have to like just become a music composer all the time, you know?
Right.
Like for me, I'm still trying to be an artist, you know? So it's like I'm trying to find that balance between making music for sync licensing and making music to like for my fans, you know?
Sure.
And like the making music for my fans is the ultimate goal. So
of course, that makes sense. Well, a lot of great free game from Jackson.
And yeah, like register your music with BMI or ASCAP.
Yes, I even did that. So which I gotta actually add our stuff, so it reminds me. So, but yes, we totally recommend that for sure. Is getting on ASCAP, BMI. But that was really, I think that was a lot of great. That was more than a lot
right there.
That was a lot right there. No, I really appreciate you.
People can hit me up. Yeah.
Yeah, which great segue, because we're almost basically at that time, man. This has been such a great episode, and I've been really enjoying having you down and talking so many different things with you today. And I feel like people are going to walk away with a lot more than just who Jackson Whalan is. I feel like there's going to be a lot of things people can take away as either a creative, or if they're an artist, or just even just learn a little bit more about how this industry works. Like you're somebody that's been around for a really long time in the industry, and you've seen so much, and it's cool to have someone with your experience on the show and be able to talk about it. So it's really great.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Of course. So before we plug away and let people know where they can find you, we do got to do one last question, and it's our last segment of the show, which is the dream song scenario.
Oh yeah.
Which is the open response called the dream song scenario. So within the dream song scenario, you get a song. It's a Jackson Whalan song. You can pick any artists and producers, dead or alive, to be on that song. You get up to 2 producers and up to 3 guest features who would be on Jackson Whalan's dream song scenario.
Man, if I could just have Rick Rubin like laying on a couch.
It's like my idol, bro.
As a producer,
love him, bro.
Like that would be cool. Like laying on the couch, it would be a producer credit, you know?
For him, yeah. Not many, but for him.
It's funny, when I walked in here, I was like, wow, Bob Marley and Anderson .Paak are like my couple of my favorite artists.
No shit. Yeah. Pac for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
more of like a historic thing for Bob Marley, like growing up listening to his stuff.
Yeah.
But like in my adult years,
Yeah.
Pac, like
Yeah.
that album was crazy.
Dude, I got to meet him earlier this year.
No
Yeah,
shit.
Dude, he's awesome.
Oh,
he came to the Producer Mondays and played drums.
No
and we were
way.
chilling after for a second.
That's dope. He's such a good
I don't know
drummer.
if you
I think people
remember,
forget
but-
about that.
Yeah, he's awesome. So how many features?
You get 3. Up to 3.
3 vocal features.
They can be vocals.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And then
So
you
I
get
have
up to
one
2.
more.
Yes, you got Rick Rubin. You get one more producer
Yeah.
credit if you want.
I mean,
it.
dude, Lauryn Hill changed my life so much, dude. Like back in the day with the Fugees and the score, like I would have her as the 3rd feature, and then
Dope.
another producer. Oh man, that's a big one.
Because Rick's just on the couch, like he's telling us what sounds good.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
like
mean?
more of a spiritual guidance.
You need like
producer
someone to
credit.
actually produce the song. Because as we know, Rick does not go on the boards.
Probably DJ Premier, man.
Love it. I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic, and that could be a little bit of a challenge in a way for DJ Premier to work with someone like a Bob Marley or even an Anderson .Paak. Like I'd be curious to see what direction he would go in.
DJ Premier, Anderson .Paak, that would be woo.
pretty
Have they
cool.
not worked together?
No, I think the closest thing that you would get to like what Pac did to like what Premier does is like that Dr. Dre album,
Yeah.
executively produced album that he did,
Yeah.
Oxnard. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
I feel like that could be something where like Anderson, if he got more in his rap bag again, because I know
Yeah.
he's definitely
He's been
more
doing
into-
that with Corday though too.
Oh, they're
They
dope.
have some
Yeah,
cool tracks that
they
are
do a
coming
lot
out.
of good stuff. They have for years. Like Corday's.
I'm bummed that I left J. Cole out of it because he's one of my favorite MCs. But you know, you can only pick so many.
You can only have some. Yeah, it's not
I
try me.
I was inspired by the records on the wall too,
Yeah,
man.
I
Like,
love
got
that.
Some good stuff up here.
Thank you. Yeah, no, these are some
Yeah.
of my favorite projects for sure.
awesome.
I got to update it kind of soon-ish, but
great.
yeah, every song can't be "Try Me" with like 5 features. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
you gotta limit it somewhere.
Nice.
Teeba knows that song got probably 20 really good verses, and we were just like, should this song be 10 minutes long? But we're like, we can't do that.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta filter it out.
You got to filter. You got to self-correct there. But Jackson Whalan featuring Bob Marley, Anderson .Paak, Lauryn Hill, produced by DJ Premier and Rick Rubin-ish, I feel like would be a
that
smash
sounds
hit.
good.
Sounds pretty damn good. Sounds like a #1 Billboard
I love
chart-topping hit. I don't know about you, but anyway,
It'd be an honor.
I think it would be. Be an honor to put that out into the universe. Maybe I'll get a credit there somewhere if it happens. Jackson Whalan,
Absolutely.
thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank
This
you,
is
man.
such a fantastic episode. The only thing that'd be left to do is plug away, let the people know
Yeah.
where they can find you.
yeah.
And anyone else you want to shout out, now is the time.
Yeah, shout out to my son Finn, my wife Amy, you know, all my people, all my collaborators, and you could find me everywhere under Jackson Whalan Music. My last name is spelled WHALAN. Commonly misspelled EN, but Mike spelled it right every time, so big up to Mike. Yeah, TikTok, Instagram, all streaming platforms. Make sure you listen to the tracks on wherever you listen. And Rich Life is out now, and there's an album on the way.
I love it. What a great way to end this. And if you're a fan of Jackson and you're just being introduced to us for the first time, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Turntable Teachers. You can hit up our website, turntableteachers.com, for all the latest. And then, of course, if you're an artist, podcaster, content creator of any kind, make sure to reach out to us at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. Take advantage of the plethora of services that we do offer out of this space. Definitely check us out. We feel like we are the premier studio on the North Shore. As always, thanks so much for being here, Jackson.
Thank
This
you,
is
man.
such a great episode. I've very much enjoyed this. As always, I'm Mike. That's Jackson Whalan with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turntable teachers.